"You must be the new cleaning lady," Justine sneered, her perfectly manicured finger pointing toward the back of the store. "Do you mind heading straight to the stockroom? I don't want you scaring off the VIP clients I'm expecting today." Her tone was as sharp as the pointed heels of her Louboutin stilettos, each word slicing through the air like glass. Mandy's Fashions wasn't just a store. It was a palace of luxury nestled in the heart of downtown Manhattan. Its sparkling marble floors, artfully arranged racks of couture clothing, and glass counters lined with accessories worth more than most people's monthly rent exuded exclusivity. And Justine, the self-appointed queen of this palace, was fiercely protective of her kingdom. The woman she addressed didn't flinch. She stood firm, though her appearance betrayed her as an outsider in this realm of affluence. Her loose-knit sweater had seen better days, the threads around the cuff slightly frayed. Her jeans, though clean, were worn thin at the knees. Her sneakers bore the unmistakable scuffs of a long walk, yet her posture was upright, her gaze unwavering. "I think you've got this all wrong," she replied, her voice calm but firm. "I'm actually here to buy that men's coat." Justine's perfectly penciled eyebrows shot up. She gave the woman a slow, exaggerated once-over, from her modest clothing to her tired sneakers. Then she sniffed, wrinkling her nose as if the woman carried a stench, one of poverty and unworthiness. "Not smelling like that, you aren't," she replied with a cold laugh. "And besides, that jacket is way above your pay grade." Justine's confidence wasn't born out of thin air. She had worked her way up from a sales associate to the store's manager over a decade, perfecting her ability to read people. Her clients were the crème de la crème of Manhattan's elite, socialites, philanthropists, and A-list celebrities. To Justine, a person's worth was measured by their outward appearance, the label on their handbag, the shine of their shoes, and the cut of their suit. And the woman before her failed every one of her superficial tests. "Look," Justine sighed dramatically, crossing her arms. "I don't have time for games. This jacket costs $2,000. If you're here for a free handout, you're in the wrong place." The woman didn't flinch. She reached into her bag, pulled out a worn leather wallet, and placed a thick wad of cash on the counter. "I'm ready to pay in full," she said, holding Justine's gaze. For a moment, Justine hesitated, her eyes widening at the sight of so much money. But her pride wouldn't let her falter. "Sorry," she said, recovering quickly. "We've had a lot of fraud lately. We only take credit cards." The woman raised an eyebrow. "If credit is what you need, I'll gladly use my card. Can you please ring me up?" Instead of answering, Justine leaned in, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "I don't know what you've got in that stolen purse of yours, but you're not fooling me. You're a con artist, and I want you out of my store now." Humiliated but composed, the woman stepped back toward the door, gripping her bag tightly. As she turned to leave, the sound of high heels clicking against the marble floor broke the tension. "Justine, darling," came a booming voice. A tall, elegant woman entered, her designer outfit gleaming under the boutique's chandeliers. Two assistants flanked her, carrying binders and fabric samples. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Justine's demeanor flipped instantly. Her harsh expression melted into a radiant smile. "Mrs. Feinstein, welcome to Mandy's Fashions. It's an honor to have you here." Mrs. Feinstein, a towering figure in Manhattan's philanthropic scene, commanded attention wherever she went. Known for her lavish charity events and deep pockets, her endorsement could elevate a business to new heights, or destroy it with a single scathing comment. "We're planning our annual gala," Mrs. Feinstein explained, surveying the store with a critical eye. "We'll need evening wear for 200 guests. Tuxedos for the men, sequins for the women. Do you have samples?" "Absolutely," Justine replied eagerly, gesturing toward the racks of clothing. But her eyes flicked nervously toward the woman by the door. "First, let me handle this situation." "Situation?" Mrs. Feinstein repeated, her sharp gaze narrowing. "Oh, just a misunderstanding," Justine said quickly. "You know how it is. We have to be cautious with certain types of people." Mrs. Feinstein's lips pressed into a thin line. What type of person might that be? Well, Justine stammered, the kind who loiters, the kind who doesn't belong in a store like this. That's enough, Mrs. Feinstein snapped, her voice slicing through Justine's excuses. She turned to the woman by the door. Do you know who this is? Justine blinked, her confidence wavering. No? This is Nora Waters, Mrs. Feinstein said, her tone icy. She's the founder of New Beginnings, one of the most influential nonprofits in New York. Every year, she raises millions to provide housing, food, and clothing for the homeless. Justine's face turned as white as the boutique's marble floors. Not only that, Mrs. Feinstein continued, but she's one of the top sponsors of our gala, the same event you're desperate to secure. For the first time, Nora spoke, her voice steady and calm. I didn't expect special treatment. I only wanted to buy a coat. Mrs. Feinstein turned to Nora. Do you want to take your business elsewhere? Nora hesitated. She scanned the boutique, then finally said, No. I believe in second chances, but there's something I need to say. Justine's hands trembled as Nora stepped closer. The way you treat people matters, Nora said, not just the ones you think can help you. Mrs. Feinstein nodded. Indeed. Justine, if you want my business, you'll need to make some changes, starting with an apology. Justine's voice cracked as she spoke. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Nora gave her a small, understanding smile. Actions speak louder than words. Donate clothing to our shelters. Spend a day volunteering. Then we'll talk. The ripple effect. Within days, news of the incident spread. Social media lit up with praise for Nora's grace and criticism of Justine's behavior. The boutique faced backlash, but Justine took it as an opportunity to reflect. She volunteered at a shelter, listening to stories of hardship and resilience. For the first time, she saw people not for their clothes, but for their courage. Months later, Mandy's Fashions hosted a charity event, raising thousands for New Beginnings. Justine, humbled and transformed, gave a heartfelt speech, thanking Nora for teaching her a lesson in compassion. Compassion and kindness matter more than appearances. Never judge someone by their looks. You never know the battles they've fought or the change they're making. Months passed, and Justine worked tirelessly to repair the damage her actions had caused. Mandy's Fashions had become a key donor for New Beginnings, and Justine herself had grown into an unlikely advocate for social justice. She spent countless weekends at shelters, helping those she once dismissed. Yet she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that she hadn't fully made amends. One evening, while closing up the boutique, a sharp knock at the glass doors startled her. She turned to see Nora standing outside, her figure illuminated by the dim glow of the streetlights. In her hands was a sleek envelope embossed with gold lettering. Nora, Justine greeted, opening the door quickly. This is a surprise. Nora stepped inside, her usual calm demeanor tinged with excitement. I wanted to deliver this in person, she said, handing Justine the envelope. It's an invitation. Justine opened it carefully, her eyes scanning the elegant script. The New Beginnings Annual Gala. Guest of honor, Justine Parker. She looked up, stunned. I'm the guest of honor? Why? You've proven that people can change, Nora explained. You've used your position to make a real difference. It's not just about the donations. It's about the message you've sent, that everyone deserves dignity and respect. Overwhelmed, Justine's eyes welled with tears. Thank you. I don't deserve this. Nora smiled. You do, but that's not the only reason I came. Before Justine could respond, the boutique door swung open again. A man entered, his presence commanding. He wore a tailored suit and carried an air of quiet authority. Justine froze, recognizing him instantly from the photos she'd seen in the news. Alexander Waters, Nora's husband. Mr. Waters, Justine stammered, suddenly nervous. It's an honor to meet you. Alexander chuckled, his handshake firm but warm. The honor is mine. Nora's been telling me about you, and I wanted to see for myself. Justine glanced between them, confusion mounting. I don't understand. Why are you both here? Nora's smile widened as Alexander reached into his pocket, producing a small set of keys. We've been watching the work you've done, not just for New Beginnings, but for this community. Your boutique isn't just a store anymore. It's a hub for change, and we want to take that further. What do you mean? Justine asked, her heart pounding. Alexander handed her the keys. Nora and I have purchased the building. We're turning it into a flagship location for a joint initiative between Mandy's Fashions and New Beginnings. The store will remain yours to run, but now it will also serve as a training center for homeless individuals looking to re-enter the workforce. Justine's jaw dropped. You're giving me the building? Not giving, Nora clarified. Partnering. Together, we'll create something that changes lives. The night of the gala arrived, and the grand ballroom of Manhattan's most prestigious hotel was filled with luminaries from every corner of the city. Justine stood at the podium, her hands trembling as she addressed the crowd. I used to believe that success was about appearances, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. But I've learned that true success comes from lifting others up. This year, Mandy's Fashions has not only donated clothing, but also provided job training for over 50 individuals who are now on their way to building new lives. And this is just the beginning. The audience erupted in applause, but it was Nora's nod of approval that meant the most. As the evening wound down, Justine spotted a familiar figure lingering at the edge of the room. It was one of the women she had met at the shelter months ago, now dressed in a stunning evening gown. Her transformation was breathtaking. The woman approached, her eyes shining. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. You gave me a chance when no one else would. I got the job, Justine. I got my life back. Tears streamed down Justine's face as she hugged the woman tightly. In that moment, she knew this wasn't just about redemption. It was about purpose. The boutique thrived as both a business and a beacon of hope. Justine continued to work alongside Nora and Alexander, dedicating her life to creating opportunities for those society had overlooked. And every time she handed a customer a bag of clothing or welcomed someone new into the program, she was reminded of the lesson she'd learned the hard way. Compassion has the power to transform not just lives but entire communities. And in her case, it had transformed her as well. Moral of the story: it's never too late to change. Sometimes the greatest gifts come from the moments that challenge us to be better. Always lead with kindness. You never know where it might take you.